Hello, I'm Karena.
And I'm Jamie.
Welcome to As Told by ADHD. This podcast is a brainchild of two best friends with ADHD who share a passion for learning and a knack for finding the most fascinating tidbits of knowledge. Each week, we embark on a wild and hilarious journey of discovery as we dive headfirst into topics that pique our curiosity. From dark folklore to bizarre statistics, cultural ceremonies to famous dead people, we're here to entertain, educate, and tickle your funny bone.
This week on As Told by ADHD, we're doing cults. So, I love true crime.
She does.
I'm super into it.
Yes, she is.
However, cults is like my least favorite genre of true crime because I love justice. I want to see people get their comeuppance, and that doesn't usually happen in cults, and it's really sad. So I prefer things that have definite endings. We should address the elephant in the room that we tend to ignore. Not we, me and you, but like we, generalized we. I feel like that people often criticize cult members. Like, I think it's fine to criticize the people who start it, but the people who are victims of a cult usually don't know they're victims, and it's a very morally gray situation in my opinion. It's really sad to see so many people fall for, honestly, it's charisma. It's just these people who are leading these cults they're just charisma, like oozing, like they can talk a nail into hammering itself into a wall kind of person, you know? Mm-hmm. So I just want to like be aware of that as we go through this episode. And also, like, I want people to understand that no matter who you are, you're not safe, as anyone could fall for it at any time, and you won't realize it until you're in it or after it's over. So with that in mind, let's have empathy for the people who are the followers for this. And obviously there are some followers who are like in it for the wrong reasons, and they are as bad as the leaders themselves, but majority of the time they're victims, and it's really sad.
I agree.
Anyway, evens or odds?
I'm gonna go evens again. There's no way.
It's evens.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, the first time ever. Well, I don't know. I think you might have done it once before, but I don't know.
It's about dang time.
So you get to go first this time.
Go first and tell this kind of sad story.
Oh, okay.
It is, unfortunately, but like most people who come out of cults don't have, like, they wouldn't leave the cult if they were just like, oh, this is amazing. This was the best experience I ever had. You know,
right.
The only people who are egotistical, like have all the characteristics of being pretty much a cult leader, even if you aren't the cult leader, are going to be the ones that like it. So, yeah.
And I've also, like, just look at the example, like the two that come to mind that everybody knows about, even if you don't know if you know about it, are Heaven's Gate, which is the weird bald guy with the eyes, you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And he believed aliens were God somehow, but you are also an alien, and you are not a god, but you could be a god.
Yeah.
And you all have to die, right? And then there's Johnstown, which it ended in South Africa, and they drank Kool-Aid, and that's like the biggest example. Like, everybody's like, oh, they're drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, that's where that reference comes from.
Yeah, the laced poison Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
But, like, in the midst of those major stories that get traction and get attention, I mean, there's still hundreds, thousands of cults and members, like cult leaders, their cronies, the members, all of them. Like, you genuinely don't it all starts somewhere. Like, unfortunately, it starts small, it builds, and it can become catastrophic, like those examples. But I think first we should go into, like, what makes a powerful cult leader. And I did research on it because I just think that we should have, like, a good basis, because we're going to be talking about these people. We're going to talk a little bit about their life and their upbringing a little bit. And honestly, some characteristics are created so young, like, depending on how they grew up, that it's just like autopilot. Like, some people can learn the art of manipulation. Somebody can maybe learn charisma or something like that. But that's stuff that's kind of instilled in you in a very young age, so that way you're autopiloting. Like, that part comes out so you can add on to it, something that you can learn, something that is hands-on. Cult leaders' main strengths and characteristics is to, of course, have charismatic leadership, the ability to isolate and control, of course, invoke fear and master manipulation, and using that manipulation to demand loyalty, and then use all above to have the followers give up their personal possessions and goals, and then master the art of indoctrination or brainwashing, essentially. So it's a process, but I mean,
it really could be anything or anybody. Like, you could go to a church and think that you're worshiping one thing, and then they slowly start to morph into something else.
Exactly.
And that's why most cults are revolved around religion, is because most of the people who fall for this, they often have a sense, like a lost sense of self. Like, they don't know who they are, and they're looking for something to believe in.
Right.
And that's why people fall for it.
Right. And so we're going to take our mental, we're going to take it out, we're going to drop it in the year 1925.
1925. I love history.
1925. A child named Samuel Drew Fife Jr. was born in Miami, Florida. Florida people. It's the Florida people.
It's the Florida people.
It's the Florida water, okay? Florida comes up a couple of times, okay?
I don't know what it is about Florida.
There really is something about Florida. I've said this so many times. There's something going on there.
I would love for, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're, like, on a platform where you can comment, I would love to hear your Florida people stories.
Please.
Like, I think,
fill it up.
Like, I mean, if you listen to one of the previous podcasts where, like, majority, like, where we did, like, the news headlines, majority were from Florida.
Florida people.
They're crazy. They're crazy. Allegedly.
But it was said that he was born to a normal family, a family in Florida. But their neighborhood and their surroundings seem already kind of cultish to me. Of course, it didn't go into detail, but his dad, Samuel Drew Fife Sr., and his mom, Maud Ive Cox, were already very strict, routine people that came to daily practices, religious practices, and stuff like that. It said that he was raised fairly normal, which in my opinion could have been like the perfect catalyst into his future endeavors, because his family environment was supportive and structured, and his community, I guess, I don't know what neighborhood he's from, but they emphasized strong moral values and community service. So they're like, help out, be a good person, like drilling that into their brains essentially, which that's not necessarily a bad thing. Kind of just depends on the human. Right. But it depends on how the human like pulls that in. But even though his family was very structured and very like routine with what they did, he also was exposed, because he's in Florida, to various cultural influences. So his worldview at a very young age was very broad. But the one thing that everybody said about him before he left for the Navy was that Sam Fife, that is one charismatic guy. He is oozing charisma, right? So he goes to the Navy, another very structured, very routine place. And after his service, he was like, I'm going to seminary. So he goes to New Orleans, he goes to Louisiana, New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. And then doesn't really give too much into what he was doing then. He did become a pastor. So
college, Baptist ministry. 2 wives later, he decides to move back to Miami, and he joined the Miami Revival Center, where it was said that he would receive a message from God, and thus the the cult named The Move, or the Body of Christ, would be called forth. And in his brain, he was like, I am bringing this forth because I was told that there needs to be a divine order government to govern the world, and the world will be coming to an end like sometime in the 1970s. So we're in like the 1960s, it's like 1970s, that he was like, premonition, prophecy, I know all, right?
You know what's really crazy?
All of the cults that I've learned about and I've researched, I've noticed that they all travel around before they do that. I think it's a part of their manipulation. They're like knowledgeable, so like nobody can tell them anything. Yeah.
Right. Like they're like, oh, I've been here, I've done this, I've seen these things, I've done all these things, and you're like, wow, that's so cool. I've only ever been here, so that's great.
Yep. And guess where they targeted? Rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
Very rural areas. So with the end, I guess, drawing near, he ordered believers to build communes. So he had like his little bands of people, probably about 50 people. And the communes were built in Canada, so rural Canada, Colombia, which unfortunately, historically, have been very gullible people. Alaska, kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs up in Alaska, no offense. Texas, rural Georgia, and Mississippi. So right here, wild. We didn't expect that.
We didn't expect
Of course,
that.
Mississippi was added onto that. Now, most of these would be like convention areas or leadership centers or life centers, but Mississippi went on all of the Florida drinking water and decided that they would turn it into a deliverance camp. Let that
What
sink
is
in.
that?
A deliverance camp. It's in Sapa, Mississippi. 90 acres of land, and nothing but a void of trees and forest and silence.
Okay, but what is a deliverance camp? Like what?
Oh, we're going to get into it.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get into it. I promise.
I'm here. I'm here for it.
So, Sapa Camp, or the Church of Sapa, it was established in Sapa, Mississippi. This is where a lot of the most extreme cases of Sam 5's practices would be used, and heavily enforced. Gladly, I would say, because these guys are crazy, gladly by the leaders of this deliverance camp, who was John Henson and Bambi Henson. They also were from Miami, Florida. And John Henson was like, I am working this marketing job. I am doing great. I'm making a lot of money, but God told me I have to go isolate everybody in Sapa, Mississippi, and do everything that Sam 5 is saying. So he took his practices and he went to Sapa and he opened it. Now I can go on and on, but about them, because they're psychotic, but they settled here, opened the doors in 1971. It was advertised as a safe haven for troubled souls, whether it was addictions, mental illness, emotional hang-ups, marriage problems, anything that's troublesome. But even though everybody had their own forms of, I'm going to say, torture that they had to go through in order to be delivered from all of that, I kind of want to focus on one person's story, because this person, this girl, she was not born into the cult, but she was brought into the cult when she was like more cognitively able to, I guess, understand, but not understand. Like if a 5-year-old got brought to this camp and these things happened, it would be harder for them to recall. We're going to go into the story of Ellie Solnero, and she said in an article posted by a Jackson, Mississippi journalist, Josh Carter, he's with WLBT, that, this is going to get so sad,
that she remembers being 12 and being in the car with her mom, who said that they were going on a trip and driving for what seemed like eternity, and then parking at the commune, being grabbed by 3 men who forced her to change into skirts that reached below her knees. They forced her to watch all of her clothes and her belongings be burned, and they forced her hair to be chopped off. So they held her down and chopped off all of her hair. Then she was shoved into a trailer full of bunk beds and other troubled souls, and she had to sleep next to a heroin addict who was going through withdrawal. This is a 12-year-old girl.
Were her parents with her in that trailer?
Her mom just went on to other quarters. They just shoved her in there because she was resisting and she was being crazy, essentially. But she was
the
just
mom
traumatized.
Or the daughter?
The daughter. I mean, she was reacting as a little girl should.
Yeah.
And they were like, she's going with the crazies. And the mom was just like, okay. Unfortunately.
It's wild.
So she was forced to sleep next to an addict, and then she was forced up by 6 hours and ready by 6 a.m. for what was called the Golden Tabernacle, which was pretty much just breakfast. They ate wheat cereal, most of the time dry biscuits, and she said that they got an egg once a month.
So, question. So, were these people who were in like the crazy trailer with her, were they there willingly, or were they all there unwillingly?
So it's questionable, because what she recounts is thinking that these people were taken away, but also like the addict could have been like, I need to change. But like when you're going through stages of withdrawal, it can become very dangerous. That's why in rehabs and stuff, they'll do like a little bit of isolation, or make sure that, you know, that person's staying away from this person or something like that, you know? So the fact that this addict was, you know, laying with this 12-year-old girl, whether it was a bunk bed under or over or right next to, you know, it's just, it's terrifying. But after breakfast, this is immediately, she was forced to do chores, where she was forced to behead and disembowel chickens with her bare hands. And then having to go eat dinner like nothing happened. And then right after that, it was sermons. And their sermons, to kind of go into it a little bit, was Sam Fife's ideals. He was like, I'm going to teach you how to be saved from the world full of demons that were looking to prey on human souls, and the only safety being the communes. And if they didn't follow the teachings of him, they would be forced out, like left to the demons, left to the wolves, who would destroy their soul. They would preach like they themselves were possessed, she said, because they would just be screaming, yelling, veins having a spit just coming out of their mouth, like foaming almost. And she was like, I don't know if they're banishing demons or they are demons. Like, I'm terrified. And then, since she was a troubled one, of course she took a brunt of abuse, but she also saw the way the other kids were treated there. All kids were treated like they were possessed by demons. Their own parents would be sold that the reason that their children is acting a certain way is because they had demons and they needed to get rid of them. So they would be like, you're possessed by a demon because you're frustrated right now. Not say that, but like if they showed frustration, sadness, anger, you're possessed by demons. Go get beat. So she was taught that people were born with demons, newborn babies, because by nature they are animals. So literally as soon as a baby was born and it cried after having its diaper changed and being fed, and it still was crying, they're like, that's a sign of a demon, because if it's fed and it's changed, that baby should not be crying. And the parents were ordered to beat their babies, newborn babies, because the only way to get rid of demons inside, known as the beast nature, was to beat it out of them until they never cried again. Out of the womb, they are physically and psychologically abused. What kind of like turned my stomach a little bit, it was kind of a little bit like man logic, which kind of ticked me off too. But he said, Sam Fife,
Sam 5's logic was better to have red welts on their back than to have scars on their soul throughout eternity. Newborn babies. Babies.
That's wild.
Then there were exorcisms, because of course, when you're a cult that's so obsessed with demons and that you're the only place that can save people from demons, Salinero remembered being let in to witness one. They tied down 2 girls that she was convinced was kidnapped from a mental institution. They all had mental, she said that they were like mentally handicapped. And she said it was terrifying because these girls, like, all of this is happening, and she said that she swears these girls, like, voices changed. It sounded like there was multiple voices, and she said that they knew things about her that no one knew, and it freaked her out. She said she wanted to leave, but either the guards would drag her back or the police would. Yeah.
I feel like that was a big thing, like, especially back in like the 60s and 70s and even like early 80s. I feel like if a parent was like, "Hi, my child ran away. Can you bring them back to me?" They'd be like, "Okay, I got you." Yeah. And then even if the child is like, "No, they're hurting me."
It is in the 70s, like hitchhiking era.
I would say, yeah, 70s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah. So she kind of lost all hope. She thought that she was just stuck there until a couple years later, things began to fall apart. John Henson would be arrested for kidnapping a woman and holding her captive. But
glad he got arrested.
But his case was overturned due to lack of evidence. So he was supposed to be sentenced for 10 years. It got overturned due to lack of evidence. But the commune did end up disbanding, but its members moved to either Georgia or a new commune in Alaska called Sapa North.
So where was this one again?
Sapa, Mississippi.
Got it.
That's
so frustrating.
I'm sorry. I know. Trust me. Because you were like, hold accountable. And I was like, not in my case, unfortunately.
Right.
Samuel Fife gained so much influence that there was an estimated 44,000 followers, and he began thinking that he was so divine that he was no longer mortal. But I'm a Christian. I believe in God. And God said no. He gave Samuel Fife the biggest no, the biggest rejection ever.
And that also seems to be a theme with like cult leaders, is that they start off like, I have the message, I am so wise, God is talking to me, and then like 5 years later they're like, I am God. And
exactly. You're like but he was flying on a foggy day in a personal jet over Guatemala, and his plane would crash into a mountain, killing him and 3 of his followers in 1979. And he died kind of young, at the age of 54. That's kind of young.
Crazy. Well, I feel like for
he
back
was in his 30s.
It is kind of young, but it's like
he was
still
in
not...
his 30s when he found that revival church, or that revival center, before this started. So he was like in his 30s when he had that first prophecy, like realization, divine message from God.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, this is like about 20 years. So, I mean, unfortunately, cults could last longer. And somebody did take his spot. They did disband a lot after Fife died, after saying that he was immortal. Some of his followers I read.
I wonder why.
Well, some of his... The thing is that in the New Testament and the Bible, everybody's living almost 900 years, almost 1,000 years, right? But the true followers of Christ, the ones who kind of like didn't really do much wrong and stayed close to God, he took to heaven sooner. Like in the Bible it says he took them. They were loyal, so he took them back. And so some of his followers believe like, oh, he was immortal, but God just wanted him back.
because there's like a biblical example of that. So they're just like, oh, he's still divine. Like, God just took him back.
That's wild.
But of course, since the church was at its peak, somebody had to success him. So a new leader, his name is Carol E. Cobb, he's also known as Buddy, took over. And the cult is still technically active today, still festering in the rural areas of I want to say those states still, but I mean, I definitely think it could still be here in Mississippi for sure. But they didn't give like an explanation or details or geographical information of where those could be. But the new name of this cult is the International Ministerial Association, or IMA. So pay attention to that, okay?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, pay attention to that, all right? Because that's them still being active, and you don't want your newborn baby to be beaten by people, okay? But Ellie Solnero was kind of in a weird limbo stuck after she, like, left, because she was going through, like, a little bit of Stockholm Syndrome, in a way, because even though, she had to endure all of this, bills were paid. Like, they had no financial burden. They were fed. You know, like, they had, like, a routine that had nothing that coincided with the real world, so the real world hit really hard. Especially being kind of like a first for her. Her mom came back into the real world, but that was her first time going out in the real world. Like, it was very traumatizing for her. But it said that she was happy in this article, to be free. And I don't know where she is now, but I really hope she's doing well.
I'm sure she is. I'm sure that, like, to not be beaten every day is probably feels like a luxury to her, even though it should be bare minimum.
For sure. And there's so many accounts of people who survived the cult. Like, nobody was necessarily being killed, but, I mean, psychological. I mean, you could be a vegetable. You literally come out of it a vegetable. So that.
Yeah, that's wild and sad. Mm-hmm. But
stay away from IMA. Stay away.
Yeah. Bye.
International Ministerial Association. Ministerial, whatever. I don't care. Stay away. Stay away from all of it.
Don't come out. Don't do it. Stop.
Stop it.
All of you.
But yeah, that's my story. It didn't really have a happy ending. I'm so sorry.
That was pretty heavy.
Yeah. It was heavy, but it's just, like, I feel like it didn't get a lot of traction because it was when, like, major mainstream news was pushing, you know, the mass murders, mass suicides, stuff like that from other cults. So it really didn't get a lot of traction. So I'm happy I'm just able to tell the story, you know?
Also, in that time period, that was, like, the serial killer time period. Mm-hmm. So
that's true, too.
It's understandable that it didn't get the coverage that it probably should have. Especially because, like, I feel like in rural areas, I've noticed that people in rural areas in all over the world, they often try to hide flaws more than major cities. Like, I feel like major cities are like, yeah, that's kidding. John over there, he smokes crack. What can you do about it? But
yeah, you do kind of have to, like, shield yourself heavy. You get judged so much. When I moved back to Mississippi, I didn't want anybody to see me in public because it'd be like, they're like, what are you doing here? Mm-hmm. What happened? What did you do?
Well, I think that was the longest that you've ever done a story before.
I think so, too.
And I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
So I think we should leave it there for this episode, especially because it was very heavy. So if you listen to this and you were emotionally affected by it, take some time to yourself. Drink a lot of water. A lot. More.
I don't hear a sip.
Yeah, even Freddie was like, more water. Look.
Exactly.
Look.
Drink more water.
More water.
This is my cup this week. I had
Can you sit down?
sayings last week. This is my cup this week.
Exactly. I've had 3 of these today. I'm gonna have more. So, more water.
I been watching, of course, like daily like YouTube videos like while I was walking. I did a couple miles today, and they were saying like when going through hard stuff, whether it's like overcoming some sort of like addiction or mental trauma, like the base of it should be like sitting in it almost. Like if you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed by what we talked about today, because it was a heavy topic, kind of allow yourself to sit in it and gain your control over it.
Right. And I think
Like
so
sit
I'm
in
sure-
it long enough that you choose to bring yourself out of it and go get your water, go do that sweet thing for yourself, go, take a nap, go watch a movie, go hug a friend, go hug your pet, like gain that control over it.
And if you've been to any amount of therapy, you've heard feel your feelings. And like at first you're like, I'm feeling it. That's why I'm here. But I think the thing that people don't fully register is that like emotions physically affect you. And like if you are feeling overwhelmed, where in your body do you feel it, Like, and that helps me work through it faster. Because like if I'm anxious, I feel it in my chest and like I'm like, okay, what is the best thing for me to do in this situation? And then I just kind of work through that. So just take care of yourself. Have a bath if you want to. If you don't like baths, don't do it. You don't got to do that.
Just do what makes you happy is the gist of it. But
Exactly.
also practice to gain control of it because we know you're strong and we know you can do it.
We are resilient, all of us. Okay, we
All
will
right.
see you guys next week with my cult story.
Colts. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.